Hello, it says I'm live, which means I'm assuming I'm live. Patrick, whoop, whoop, of Rio Karuk. Anyway, so yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Whenever the last time I went live was, I'm going to do my best. My biggest fan, that's what I'm going to call my mom. So if I say my biggest fan, y'all know who I'm talking about. And if she doesn't see this, then she won't know who I'm talking about. She was like, you shouldn't yawn with your mouth wide open when you're live. I'm like, fine, whatever, fair, true. So anyway, the other day I remembered what the strength card in this deck. You know what? We'll pull before and after strength in a second. That's what I'm going to do. I remember what it reminded me of with those two aspects sort of merging together. It's Earth Grab, and it's Earth Grab specifically in the Lafruma Hide because it's the east capped by the Wackend, and it was like once you reach a certain point, the Wackend is like whatever, right? And then I used, I think, the Crow Tarot and the Viking Tarot, and then there was something that the Animal Guide Watcher was saying. And in the Runic Tarot, it wasn't being heated. It was the Two of Swords and some other cards, and it was like they slew the Animal Guide in order to try to forcefully take a certain kind of power or whatever. And then on the other one, they were like working together or something like that. It reminded me of that. I literally just looked it up. Scaparelli, I butchered that because I don't have the pronunciation know-how. But the Scaparelli dress with the lion on the shoulder. And then after that, the ash was blooming with the Edberstan. New buds were bursting. So in the spirit of that, and just to see what's up, I got the only deck I have right now, the Clarity Tarot. And I'm going to pull before and after the Strength card. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And then I'm going to check the I Ching correspondence for it, which I meant to pull up before I started this, but I did not. Just to give me a little extra layer, since I only have the one deck. Not that I necessarily need anything, but I like diversifying, things of that nature. 2019 was 4 years ago. That is so wild. I just did it, didn't I? Sorry, fan. My mouth wasn't open as wide, though. I gotta get to the I Ching correspondences. I don't need this. There we go. Integrating the I Ching. Boom. Nice. I haven't even started it yet. I like to define everything so that as it comes out, I know what's up rather than like having to try to guess and make the most of it. I mean, either way, the message is going to be whatever the message is. I'm a firm believer in that. But I just like to have everything sort of clarified beforehand. And then sometimes I create a sticky note because I forget it. So let's get into it. I have officially, as of now, as of roughly right now, I've officially been here for a full week. I have 2 more weeks because I leave on the 13th. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. So this month has 31, right? Yeah, 6 plus 7 is 13. I have 2 weeks and then I go home. Oof, right? maybe I'll extend my vacation. Okay. We'll give it a cut here and then we'll see what's up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull from the bottom of the deck until I find it. The card before strength is going to represent the lower trigram. The card after strength is going to represent the upper trigram. I'm going to read the hexagram. That is the composite of those 2 trigrams. And then maybe I'll pull around it to see what's up. So I guess it's just an update. Oh, well, we're still shuffling. Who is this? The Tower. This is funny. So this is the tower card in this deck. It's funny because on Twitter, I think last night or this morning, I don't remember, I saw a video of a seagull swallowing a rabbit whole. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I saw a video of black-backed gulls or something like that. And they were like, they're apex predators and they're like seagulls, but much larger. And the reason why I brought it up is because it made me think of these birds, the black-backed gulls. They were like swallowing fish. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, I guess with a fish, it's not necessarily going to do anything inside of your stomach. I don't think it has like claws or talons. If it had barbs, maybe, or even a rabbit necessarily. But it's like, what if you swallow something whole and then it messes with your insides? Because all I know of heroes in the media is when they get swallowed, they cut out, they take the sword and cut themselves out of the stomach. But anyway, this is the Tower. I'm looking at this sail. It looks like a sail here, and I don't know. I guess there are waves. So it's a sea tower. Is this? Yeah, it is. I'll try not to bounce the camera too much. There are waves down here. This is the sail. This is like you lost the game. That's what it's making me think of. There was a sea tower in when I used the dungeons. No. Yeah, I think it was the Dungeons and Dragons expansion for the Magic the Gathering. And I think that was the last time I read using Magic the Gathering cards. And there was a dragon at the sea prison, a dragonborn, whatever. Um, and a person that discovered them. And the person that discovered them knew who the dragonborn was, and the dragonborn didn't know who they were. And they had positioned themselves to be a great bestower of some kind of knowledge or power that made that dragonborn as fearsome and ferocious as they were. But then, after word and news of their deeds spread, they caught someone many miles or whatever fantastical unit away, heard, and that was like, oh, that's like the missing dragonborn prince, whatever. And so that person went to the tower to tell the dragonborn who they are. And who they are is in no way or by no means a result of someone else's tutelage or mentorship or anything like that. Everything that they're doing is natural born because of who they are, because of their lineage, because of their legacy, because of their ancestry. It was a power that didn't have to be acquired the way that everyone else was acquiring power. You know what I mean? So this is interesting. Off to an interesting start already with this tower. And there's a fiery explosion. What's interesting about this tower is, though, that it doesn't necessarily read as intentional as other towers do to me. And that's because there are many bolts of lightning, even some over here that are seemingly striking who knows what. I mean, it could be other towers, but in a lot of decks, it seems like it's depicted that that tower specifically caught that bolt. I think if I think about it though, in the SKT there may be a few other bolts too, but this is how it's coming to me today. What's also like, there's this, you see this? For some reason, off camera, even on camera a little bit, this is making me think of a phoenix that has been ignited. And the interesting thing about that is this lightning bolt hitting the water. There was a time in the SKT, or not the SKT, the Wild Unknown Tarot, where it was like there were phoenix ashes underwater. And because the ashes were underwater, there was no way for them to ignite. But a single bolt of lightning, like, sears through the water. It evaporates all of the water or whatever. It displaces the water through some natural or magical means. And it ignites the ashes. And in that split second that the water is displaced from the strike of that lightning, the phoenix ignites and rises above the water. This makes me think of that. Like, I was already looking at this as a phoenix. For whatever reason, it looks like kind of bird shaped to me. But then again, like, there's this bolt coming down here. So there is the ignition of what lies deep within the self. Knight of Wands. When I was shuffling, doing the pre shuffles, this card flipped over and I saw the honeybee. Either I just watched Raya and the Last Dragon. Either it's a toot and boom or it's a honeybee. And I literally just finished, I think they're called shikigamis. I literally just finished watching an anime that's about the like strongest it's not an exorcist. What is it? I mean, it's not, but it might be. Uno momento, uno momento. The strongest. I want to say it's an exorcist, but I don't think that's what they're called. Where's my history? Reincarnation of the strongest exorcist. Yeah, it is exorcist. Okay. Reincarnation of the strongest exorcist in another world. Like, this is literally the anime. Okay. I'm watching it on Crunchy. I'm watching it on Crunchyroll because supposedly Crunchyroll is one of the ways to support the creators. And so, anyway. And he said he had the little paper, goodness, shikigamis. I think that's what they're called. He had all of his shikigamis out and on campus because he's in some magical academy or school. He disguised them as bees so that people wouldn't. I mean, like, nobody, not Shikigawa, Shinagawa, Shikigami. Is it? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. No, doesn't look like it. Oh wait, maybe. Maybe it is Shikigami. Yeah, I think it is. I'm trying to find out these without the weird, GIF, whatever. He disguised them as honeybees, and that's the first thing I noticed on the shield when I pulled this card. This is interesting because the Knight of Wands in the show, they use magic. To use magic, they use wands. I think the wand suit, especially the Queen of Wands, is a lot more magical than I often remember. Um, but anyway, like, in the show, he's not born with any elemental affinity for magic. He's not born with any magical capabilities, but he has immense spiritual power. And because of his extensive knowledge from his previous life, he knows how to make his Some if and or most of his abilities look like the magic that other people perform in that world, um, to try to fly under the radar, which is interesting. After that is the King of Pentacles and the Two of Cups. This flower, so I've watched another anime before I watched that. I watched My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia, BNHA. And there's a character in there that's described as cold, but they had a love for flowers. And it was a warmth that you got to see in that character that up until that point we didn't see. And I like that here with this King of Pentacles, because this isn't, it makes it feel like it's not wealth for the accumulation of wealth. It's not luxury for the sake of luxury. And I got back on my big house YouTube kick or whatever. And one of the videos were like, for some billionaires and people who have a vast amount of wealth, like their homes become a status to that wealth. It's exuberance and opulence for the sake of exuberance and opulence. Maybe partially because what else are you going to spend that money on? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that, people can do with money. Not to say that they don't, but anyway. In the video, it was like, because, there are certain things that a home is supposed to do. And then there are all the ways that a home is more than just a house or a place that we like sleep and eat. It's about more than just shelter. But with these flowers, it's like there's a warmth, there's a point, there's a purpose. And I'm thinking of like all of the decks where I've seen the Queen of Wands depicted with a certain, not fertility, not virility, verdancy. Where I've seen the Queen of Wands depicted with a certain verdancy, like trees growing, or like it's like a living wood staff, or she's like part of the earth or something like that, and the vice versa, I believe. And then this Two of Cups is here. This Two of Cups is making me think of it being something that's a lot deeper. Because there's all the water below, and then the infinite cosmos above. And the fish are going from up there down into the water. It's very Luca. Those are fish up swimming in the sky. They're not fish, they're actually called, oh my gosh. And then the strength card is literally right after the Two of Cups. So here we go. And then death is after strength. I've shuffled this deck so many times, I promise. I've shuffled and shuffled and shuffled. The Two of Cups and death with strength. It came out in that video that is, and then the Six of Wands is under the death card. That also came out the last time in the Page of Wands. I see the Page of Wands every time I use this deck. I mean, I've had this deck for not that long. I've used it a handful of times and I see the same 5 cards, which is fine. Because I literally said the appearance of those cards made me think of this, right? So we have the Two of Cups below and death above. See, what I like about this is, though, this again, it's that like on earth as it is in heaven. It's the everything shifting and transpiring of the subtle and the energetic or in the etheric, or it's like everything already having been changed in the subtle and energetic and etheric, but now it's coming in to change in the material and the physical in our day-to-day lives. Because the fish are swimming from above to below. Like the change that's already happened in the infinite cosmos is now coming down here. And then we have death on the other side of that. Death was clarifying the Two of Swords? No. The Page of Swords. Death was clarifying the Page of Swords, and then the Ten of Swords came out clarified by the Wheel of Fortune. I'm pretty sure that's how that came out. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. But I think so. And again, like, there's the spectral spectator here. What's interesting is, though, today, it's feeling like this spirit belongs to the skeleton. And when the spirit merges with the skeleton, like flesh grows on its bones, it becomes a person. So it's almost like there's a role for us to grow into in this new space. We just have to find it, type of energy. If that makes sense. So this hexagram would be, give me a second to find it. Two of Cups. This is double wind. We literally just had double wind. Just had double wind. So it's that same gentle force. I think it was I Ching 59. We'll see. I should have probably looked it up rather than trying to go off of my memory. It might be either 54 or 59. It's not 54. Let's hope it's 59. Or at least somewhere down here. 57. It's I Ching number 57. Use gentle force. Submit to the direction of the winds. The power you exert must be a gentle force. The wind is powerful because time is its power. The wind uses time to accomplish all endeavors. So you too, like the wind, must use time to accomplish your endeavor. Be the unseen influence. The magus casts a spell that will produce an unseen influence. Whether the warrior advances or retreats, both decisions will bode well, both decisions will bode well so long as the decision is made with conviction. One must delve below the surface, perhaps into the unconscious mind, to understand the situation at hand. The wind is favorable, small gains to be had. One must delve below the surface, and that's where all the fish are going. But it's delving below the surface with this higher understanding, or with a greater goal in mind. It's delving below the surface with a sense of conviction. And it feels like that conviction, in some ways, it can like keep us honest as we delve below, or keep us honest as we look at things. I feel like this also, again, can be symbolic of that unseen influence. But also in the Tower card, we have lightning striking from above. Which isn't entirely unseen. Unless, like, that's the first bolt. Like, no rumbling, no whatever, just a bolt of lightning. I want to pull a card for this conviction. Let's see. I'm actually gonna pull a few. I'm not trying to be on here for too long because it is gonna be lunchtime at some point. Sticky notes. Are they called sticky notes? What are they called? Sticky notes. Are they just, oh, literally sticky notes? Thank you. I'll have like 5 pop up from all of the series that I haven't finished. But that's fine. I wanted to go back and finish the Rune series that I did before the Fruma, before the final edition came out. I think I started that one with the first draft, Raw Runes. So card 1 would be the conviction. Let me pull this back up. I don't really want to use. It's interesting because if so, I immediately go to the line be the unseen influence. The mages cast a spell that will produce an unseen influence. But if we are the unseen influence, then the spell that we cast will produce ourselves. Right? That's kind of like if A equals B and C equals B, then A equals C. And that is a little like take charge, not necessarily like take charge of the situation, but know that, well, how do we show up as an unseen influence for the spells that we cast? Um, my brain is like blank. Again, it is sort of that it's a little be the change. It also feels a little bit like positioning. It feels a little bit like if you know that someone is going to be somewhere at a certain time, like for example, it's not going to be the greatest, but for example, like let's say that you work at a company and there's some hot shot person coming to your company, um, and you know it's almost like you've never directly interacted with this hotshot person, but interacting with them is a goal of yours because you want to progress your career. And so you pay attention to certain things, right? And so let's say, like, one day, you know, they're going to be there and you know what kind of coffee that they like. And you know that if they don't have that coffee, they're going to be whatever, right? And it's almost like because of your distance, because of your desire, there may be again like those things that you pick up on, so you know that they're going to want that coffee. And let's say that you just happen to like have it for them when they come in the door. You know what I mean? So it is a little bit like positioning, but it's also a little bit like there's a certain awareness that's been cultivated over time. Like you've been gathering knowledge or information and now is the time to use it type of energy. But again, it does almost feel a little, it feels a little right time, right place from the outside. It feels like chance from the outside, but it reads as very prepared. You know what I mean? And it's not to manipulate the outcome of certain events or whatever. It's like if you know that a modeling scout is going to be in a certain area and they're going to be doing like a modeling call, but you want to stand out, right? You don't want to just be one of the thousands of people that they see that day. You want to be the 1,001st. 1,001st person that they see. And so you go in very like, it's like when everyone else here is like modeling, scout or model, talent, acquirer, acquisition, whatever, they almost like overdo it or they oversell. But you play this like very low key, not necessarily prominently placed, but prominent in appearance. Like you grab their attention rather than you like fighting to maintain it because you booked a slot where you already have it. You know what I mean? And so it's like they're going somewhere and then they see you and they're like, oh my gosh, like your style is so natural and whatever. You are so you, and I'm looking for you, type of thing. That's what it feels like. Um, but that was interesting. Be the unseen force. The magician casts a spell that will produce an unseen force. Submit to the direction of the winds. See, this would be a good time to have Lafruma, but I didn't bring it. Submit to the direction of the winds. Like I would pull Fane for that. Probably before and after Fane. The power you exert must be a gentle force. Strength is already here. The wind is powerful because time is its power. The wind uses time to accomplish all endeavors. So you too, like the wind, must use time to accomplish your endeavor. That goes our lens to the well timeliness. Whether the warrior advances or retreats, both directions will bode well so long as the decision is made with conviction. So then we'll do advance, retreat, and below the surface. 2, advance, 3, retreat. Almost spelled retreat with 3 E's instead of 2. 5, a dollar sign. 4 for 4, I did a dollar sign. 4 is deeper. I already forgot deeper something. Where is it? Delve below the surface. It's below the surface. Okay, so I'm basically gonna do this like the heart of a Celtic cross without the heart. So the top is going to be conviction, the 2 paths branching out, advance or retreat, but both connected to that deeper what is below the surface. And I thought I would do, you know what? I'll shuffle the deck. I'll get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll tell you the one. See if any one of them aligns, matches with, resonates to one of your convictions. And then you can watch that one, see if you like it. It's already been 33 minutes. That's fine. Ooh, no, that was like too many cards about to tip over. So the first one is the 9 of Pentacles. The second one is the 3 of Pentacles. I only have room for 2. Give me a second. I'll move all this up. There we go. Consolidation. Now let's get the third one. The third one is the 2 of Swords. Interesting that the 2 of Swords is here, as if she hasn't been a part of this whole discussion from the beginning. That was an accident. So I flipped over all the convictions face up so you can choose whichever one you feel the most drawn to. Every other card is face down. I accidentally flipped the below the surface over for one of these, just like absentmindedly. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. Ooh, okay. Oof. Um, okay. So let me again get my sticky note together so I can get these timestamps. Get these timestamps. Here we go. I'll say first, second, third. Why do 1, 2, 3? Nine of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles, Two of Swords. So I typed out every other number, but I did the numeric 2 for 2. Anyway. So that's these three. I'm going to try to move these semi out of the way, and I'm going to shuffle the rest of these just in case I need some kind of clarification. The Moon and the Hermit. 9 and 18. This is a major 9-9 energy. Major 99 before the 100. That's the Wheel of Fortune. No. 100 is the Sun. Yeah, 100 is the Sun. Oof. So let me just timestamp this because 9 of Pentacles, 3630. We'll do 3630. If you chose the 9 of Pentacles. Oh, wait. Hold up. These don't count. These don't count. I'm not going to take these because I didn't show the cards and I meant to show the cards. So 100 is the Sun. We're at 99. It's interesting because, again, we get that Sun Moon energy. The Sun Moon came out for Aquarius season as you. The Three of Swords and the Lovers just flipped over. I love that between these two, there's an energy of a sort of reconciliation. Because here they're facing away from each other. Here it's like they're about to embrace hand in hand. It feels like in separation there were things that grew. It's like there was beauty to be seen or found. And I don't want to say it's that, like, a lot of times we don't, the Four of Cups, well, maybe Four of Cups, a lot of times it's difficult to appreciate what we have when we have it because it's like it's so easily taken for granted, right? I think this is related to conviction. I already shuffled the cards, but you already shuffled the cards. How they were faced away from each other. Like this is, it's like while they were faced away, they had to go within. These three upright cups, I feel like symbolize. This is interesting because it doesn't necessarily feel like it feels like that's a Three of Cups celebration, friendship, community. But it almost feels not empty. It feels like when you're going through something challenging and you know that you have a support system that would be there for you, but for whatever reason, you're not reaching out to your support system. If you're going through a time where there's a certain resource that would be beneficial for you, or there's a certain person that you can depend or rely on, but it's like you don't want to have to like have them come and bail you out, so you figure it out on your own. It's interesting. Or just it feels like whenever we're in the presence of good company, there are certain things that we don't think about. It's like when you're happy, you don't necessarily think about the things that make you not happy. Ooh, ooh, oh, my computer gonna die. I forgot to plug it up. And it's funny because this whole time I've been fighting with my power cord, not even realizing that my computer wasn't plugged in. And this battery don't. I got a gaming laptop, and this battery goes quick. I feel like the battery health has deteriorated since I got it, which is, expected. It's quite old now. Still love it, of course. Anyway, it's like one of those, like when you're feeling good, you're not thinking about the things that don't make you feel good. Just like if you're not feeling great, you might not necessarily be thinking of the things that make you feel great. In the way, the moon again, in the way of like them making you feel better. You know what I mean? And so it's almost like there was just something that you had to discover. There was something for you to discover about yourself outside of what other people can show you or tell you necessarily. And that's the thing that's going to help relationships and connection grow stronger when you bring it back or when you come back to connection with that. So, is your conviction the Nine of Pentacles? Is your conviction the Three of Pentacles? Is your conviction the Two of Swords? Or is your conviction none of the above? If your answer is none of the above, then either go find a video that can help you, go find something that will resonate more to you, or just, listen to whatever you listen to and take whatever resonates as it resonates and as it leads and guides you. If your answer, like if none of these necessarily resonate for you, maybe talk to your guides, that's what they're there for. Be like, hey, like, show me what is my conviction, or help me find my conviction. Help me find that which I can hold firm to as I make choices and decisions moving forward. Whether that choice is to proceed in a certain area, arena, aspect of your life, or whether your choice is to retreat or recede in a certain area, aspect of your life. Help you find the thing that will guide you through the abyss of everything that lies beneath the surface to find the deeper meaning that is for you to find. I think sometimes, especially with the Three of Swords and the Lovers and the Four of Cups, sometimes if we're holding on to certain hurt, pains, traumas, or if we're holding on to certain lost opportunities, like if we think that something in our past was our big break, or like that was the moment where if we would have made this other choice, everything would have been better. Sometimes when we hold on to that, we go into everything that lies beneath with a certain scope on. It's like you go into it knowing what you're looking for rather than going into it looking for what is for you to know. If that makes any sense. You go in with a bias, and because of your bias, you see things in a certain way. So, as the conviction, I'm assuming, will help you to remain as unbiased as your conviction will help you remain less biased in the ego and more biased in whatever higher perspective you need to have, or with the assistance from whatever higher power or higher authority you believe in and subscribe to. So now I will get into these. 4414. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a lengthy one, isn't it? That's fine. So if you chose the Nine of Pentacles, there's this blue butterfly and this blue bird and this lady wearing a red dress with what looks like a pearl earring and a dog and all these pentacles. There are flowers all over the place. This butterfly is interesting though, because of how it's, I don't know if it's how it's, I don't know if it's because of how its wings are open that one side is catching more light than the other, or if both wings are really like two different colors. But this is making me think of an internal balance between your light and your shadow, between your light and your darkness. Both have changed, both have transformed, and both are working together for greater success and stability, for the greater success and stability of you, right? And that can happen when it's like, maybe there were parts of yourself that you didn't like for a long time, but you learn to love those parts of yourself. And so now, when you go into a job interview or when you go to meet someone else, or now when you talk about yourself, you can go into those situations and not have this looming like thing that's knocking down your worth or knocking down your value, or this thing that you now have to overcompensate for, right? You learn to love and accept you as you fully. So you actually got 5 cards instead of 4. You got 2 cards in your below the surface, and looking at what's below the surface, it makes sense. What's the most interesting is I literally like the Queen of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles is your below the surface. This is what's below the surface for you. I feel like Queen of Wands, Ace of Pentacles energy is definitely going to support your Nine of Pentacles conviction. Definitely, definitely. And what's interesting again is like I was literally just talking about the Queen of Wands and how her wand is depicted as like having a magic. She also has the crown of flowers that the King of Pentacles has holding the flowers, where it was about more than just the material, where there was a certain warmth to him. And it comes out with this Ace of Pentacles. I also talked about how in some decks the Queen of Pentacles is depicted like there's a certain abundance and verdancy that she has because the like earth thrives under her, and she's literally coming out with this Ace of Pentacles. So what's interesting is though, also again, we have this bumblebee. We have the bumblebee from the Knight of Pentacles, that is the Shikigami. We have 2 of them actually, or at least 2. There are multiple bumblebees, and the bumblebees were patrolling a certain area. So the main character of the show is aware of a certain threat that currently nobody else is. Unfortunately for the threat, in his previous life, the main character thrived in these situations. Like this is literally his bread and butter. And now there's a threat in this other world that he's incarnated in or reincarnated in, and they think they all big and bad because their world is mostly ignorant to them and how they work and operate. But insert the guy that doesn't even want to be the hero. He doesn't want to be the strongest because of what it got him in his past life. He just so happens to be almost in a way uniquely suited to interact with these challenges and threats. Anyway, it's the Shikigamis that patrol the area. The gate is open, by the way. And it feels like all of this opens because of the presence of the Queen of Wands. She is the subtle, unseen influence that opens up the gate. Somehow she made that happen, and she's not even there. What's also interesting on this Ace of Pentacles is there's this ladder. I mean, is the ladder going up or down for you? Is it a ladder that leads you down into what lies underneath, or is it a ladder that leads up to the surface? I just think, as I originally saw it for me, reading this, for you, it might resonate differently. I just thought it was interesting that in the energies under what's occurring below the surface is a ladder that leads up to the surface. Like something is surfacing. And it's surfacing again because of the Queen of Wands, because of something that she's doing. Now, with all of that in mind, to advance is the Seven of Wands. To retreat is the Nine of Cups. It's worth mentioning that the Nine of Cups has a lot of these butterflies. That was one of the focal points of this Nine of Pentacles. It's also interesting to note that there's lightning in the Seven of Wands, just as there is in the Tower. I feel like if you just look at these energies, if just like from a glance, retreat would seem to be the better option. But to be fair, if you proceed, this is the Seven of Wands. It's not the Five of Wands. So you would be at a position of advantage in that. So it wouldn't be as difficult as maybe advancing would have been in the past because of something that, again, maybe it's something that you've acquired, but maybe this is that more traditional Queen of Wands confidence. Because the Queen of Wands has a confidence where, like, she doesn't have to compete with anybody. Maybe that's why it's so easy maybe that's her advantage. Maybe her advantage is she doesn't have to compete with anybody else. And again, that plays on that two-tone butterfly. There's nothing that she's compensating for. There's no reason for her to overly inflate herself. There's no reason for her to be anything more than what she is, and she realizes that. That's why she gets noticed by the scout, by the agent, because everyone else is trying way too hard. And it's not even about everyone else trying hard, it's about everyone else doing what they think they need to do to be noticed by this specific person. Everyone is assuming that they know what that person is looking for. And I feel like that's the certain bias that going below the surface with that Three of Swords, Four of Cups mentality in mind, like you're going below the surface looking for a certain specific thing. And so if that one thing doesn't happen to be the truth, or however much it aligns with the truth, that's as much of the truth as you're going to see. Sometimes it lines up perfectly, and it's like, sometimes it doesn't. And then we go in, we come out, we think we've done it, but then after a certain period of time, everything is falling apart because the truth that we found was relative to the position that we were in, rather than being more respective of a more global, a more personal, unique truth. It's like a topical truth rather than one that matches the depth that we sort of dove to, right? So, for example, like let's say that all your life you've been talented at something, or everybody wanted you to be something, so you do that thing. But, and then in that Three of Swords, Four of Cups energy, you take a break from it, probably because of a disappointment, either real or projected slash imagined. Um, but it's like, then you take a break from the thing. And in that time that you take a break, you can find something else that truly calls to you, that truly ignites you. And it's almost like that thing, more than just your purpose, it can also be your passion. That's what's there for you to find outside of expectation or outside of what everything up until that moment was leading to or towards. Again, in all of these, whether you advance or retreat, you're going to be successful. They both bode well as long as you maintain that conviction and as long as you go beneath the surface. This is very powerful. I also love that, like, okay, well, I was gonna say I also love that, like, she doesn't look like she has a lot of hair, and for a lot of people, hair is associated with beauty, and the lack of hair is seen as like less beautiful or whatever. But there are beautiful bald people. There are beautiful people who can't even produce hair for whatever reason. It doesn't take from their beauty. It can if I feel like even then, it wouldn't even necessarily take from their beauty. It would take away from their perception of their own beauty, which would go back to comparison. And they do say that comparison is the thief of joy. But she does have hair. It's braided right here. But I was just looking at that. I was like, she's beautiful and she ain't even got a lot. It's all swept to the side. That in itself can be a message of her knowing that she's more than just these things that people celebrate. Because I don't know if people even necessarily really know her power, or I don't even know if people necessarily know why she's so striking. People might think it's because of her hair or it's because of the clothes that she wears, but her confidence comes from within. And again, she's depicted with the dove, emphasizing that peace with self type of energy. And it's because of that that she's so effective in everything she does. Her energy precedes her, and her energy opens these gateways. Her energy opens these doors. Her energy is the ladder. Every rung, every piece of this is her energy. She brings it into her own experience. And that's why she sits at the Nine of Pentacles in her red dress with her blue bird. What's the most interesting about this conviction is, though, it's not reading as material. And the Ace of Pentacles, to some, it might be like, why trade one pentacle for nine, or why trade nine pentacles for one? Hey, Gertrude. But this one is so much more than these nine. She's trading up. And it feels like, again, without that confidence, without that knowing, without being that deeply anchored within the self, somebody else might look at that and go like, what are you doing? Like, you're making a mistake. You're letting this go by. You're not going to do that thing that we all know you for. You're not going to capitalize on your looks. You're not going to blah, 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 whatever. Her convictions will lead her in the way that she is to go. She doesn't need anybody else to tell her. She's the Queen of Wands. You know what I mean? She's like, you came to me for me as I am. I don't think you're going to tell me how to, I don't think you're going to tell me how to be more me. I don't think you're qualified on the subject, quite frankly, because I am me and you're not. You're you. And just because it would work for you, or just because that's what you expect of me, doesn't necessarily mean that it is for me. So flip that, right? Just because things work for others, just because someone else's path is their path and they may find a certain success on that path, doesn't necessarily mean that the same is true for you. There are some people who are of a mind to replicate as closely as they can the steps that other people take so that they'll reap the same success. But it's almost like if you follow the exact same path, you're almost guaranteed to reap less because they've already gone and had first pickings, essentially. Unless they paved the path and didn't take anything, then yeah, I guess it's all there for the taking. And again, for some people, it works. For some people, like, that is their path. If that is your path, take that. It's just not necessarily true for everybody. And when we get into replicating, it can also be a slippery slope between replicating what someone else is doing, trying to get their success, and then not comparing yourself to them. I think another thing too is that when we see the success of someone else, we don't necessarily see all of their failures. We don't necessarily see all of the work that went behind them doing or being or reaching whatever, right? We don't see all of the effort that led up to that moment. We don't see all of the rejection that they had to go through. And the only time you really hear about all of that stuff is after they make it, if they decide to share it or if it comes out some other way. Again, comparison is the thief of joy. We don't know. There are only certain things that we see for others. but we see, or we are able to receive much more when it comes to us. And we know us mostly, hopefully. So maybe that Nine of Pentacles, that conviction is a stability within self. Maybe the conviction for the Nine of Pentacles is to not compromise self, to know where you stand and just stand there firmly 10 toes down. North Node Taurus, I guess, is to be stubborn in the ways that you need to be, where you need to be, to know where you can and can't budge, because what's for you is for you and will come to you if you're there to claim it. I mean, you got to be there to claim it, or else, like I got a package yesterday. My mom was like, "You got a pack?" It's this thing I've literally been. I ordered it. I feel like months ago. I've been waiting for it. I forgot about it, and then I remembered it, and I checked up on it. Didn't hear anything, and then I forgot about it again. I was literally just thinking about it the other day, but I forgot. And then she was like, "Oh, you got a package, but I'm not going to be home for another 2 weeks." And she told me she's not going to post it to me here, so now I gotta wait to get it. Silly example, I know. Um, but yeah, that's and that it can be an energy of like that Nine of Pentacles conviction could be like you prioritizing your peace, you prioritizing your mental health and happiness, you prioritizing your well-being. I don't know everything. I am not the same as everybody. I might not be the same as anybody, and Patrick is perfectly okay with that because honestly, I wouldn't recommend anybody follow a path that I follow. I wouldn't recommend anybody do what I do because I feel like there are a lot of things that I make more difficult than they need to be. I feel like there's a level of stubbornness that is not necessarily productive for everybody. And I can't say that the way that I'm doing life or my journey is the right way for anybody else. So I'm not going to, and I wouldn't expect anybody to. I just tried to offer a different perspective or some assistance or guidance if I so receive to give and it resonates, then take it. Three of Pentacles. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I need to check on my host. I hear things and it sounds like lunch. All right, so no lunch is being paired, but I grabbed a few pistachios, so that will have to work for now. I mean, we already made lunch yesterday. That is the thing that I do enjoy about staying with this friend is that there's almost this inherent meal prep thing because he'll like make double portions for like lunch and dinner or for dinner and lunch the next day, which is nice. It's also nice like if you can cook before you're hungry so that when you're hungry it's done. It's ready. All right. So, Three of Pentacles, 10545. If you chose the Three of Pentacles as your conviction, then maybe your conviction is something like there's something that you know that's like bigger than you, or there's something out there for you to like contribute to, or you're looking for a mentor or this person or that person. And then like everything will just like make sense. Potentially, maybe. Ooh, okay. Three of Pentacles. Oh my gosh. This is interesting. The ladder motif seems to be a theme. Ladders. Well, we got two people on this ladder. There's a pinnacle that they're picking off of the tree. There's a pinnacle that she's harvesting from the ground. There's one already in the basket. So, really playing on this like above and below dynamic. But it's not as above. It's like it is as above, so below, but it isn't at the same time. Because it feels like the above and the below are different, but very similar, or they're complementary to each other. There's like half above, half below, half right here. There's like this upper, middle, lower world energy, and there's something to be gained from every point of view, from every aspect. So, energetically similar to the Queen of Wands from the Nine of Pentacles and her energy, the Queen of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles, if you didn't watch that one. So the Three of Pentacles conviction, it feels very Capricornian. I mean, it is a card of Capricorn, second decan of Capricorn, which is Taurus, North Node Taurus for now. Um, Before it moves into Aries. But it's a Capricorn energy because it's very resourceful. It's almost like it's like making the best of a bad situation. It reads as making the best of a bad situation when the situation is bad. It makes the best of any situation. It's like it's a very like there's always something to learn. Spirit is always talking, the universe is always guiding, God is always speaking. It's just when we choose to listen. And you aim to listen as much as you can through every flavor, variation, challenge, high, every part of the experience. The Eight of Pentacles is what lies below the surface for you. This feels like you being your greatest masterpiece. For some reason, not for some reason, it feels like, and again, look how like similar they are in dress, these two. Another thing that's interesting is I wouldn't necessarily expect for somebody dressed the way that she is, for a lady of her stature, or a person, for anybody dressed like this. I wouldn't expect for them to be the one down in the weeds. You know what I mean? You would almost expect for them to be better than that. So maybe in that too, it's like an energy of like staying attached to your roots or not forgetting where you come from. If you are someone that experiences a vast difference, or even however much difference, if you experience difference in your economic financial standing, or just in your ability to feel that you are provided for, or that you can provide for yourself. To advance for you is the wheel of fortune. To retreat for you is the five of wands. Again, from first glance, one of them seems like the immediately better choice to make. Like, it seems like it would be better to advance than retreat, because the five of wands is a card of competition, and the wheel of fortune is it's the turning of the wheel of fortune. I think here, though, it's almost like appearances can be deceiving, because the wheel of fortune is going to turn, but there's no guarantee in which way it's going to turn. It can turn for the better, or it can turn for the worse. The unique thing about you, though, is that it doesn't matter which way the wheel turns, because of your conviction. Again, high, middle, low. It doesn't matter where you go, there's a pinnacle for to be had, no matter what you choose. And again, that's the thing with the I Ching, no matter what the warrior chooses, both bode well, so long as they hold fast to their conviction, and as long as they delve below the surface. Yours is very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if you become like a trailblazer of some sort, or if you've already blazed trails. The reason why I say this is because it feels like, for whatever reason, it feels like the pentacle that she's perfecting, she actually places these out in the world somewhere for other people to find. Maybe that's why you already know where they all are. I don't know. A lot of people talk about pre-incarnation contracts, and even when we talk about reincarnation, it's like something like how God spread the universe has a plan for all of us. It honestly, I mean, some lines of belief say that we all are a part of that conversation and discussion. I'm just, trying to be inclusive, because not everybody believe it. But it seems like you were definitely a part of the conversation when it came to you and your life. Maybe again, I feel like if you knew that on a deep spiritual level, regardless of how unconsciously or subconsciously, it would make it easier to know, or to feel that no matter what choice you make, you're gonna find the pinnacle. Is that Holly? I see the blue H and a green heart. I have a sticky note in the way. Hey Holly, how you doing? You got me. Is this? I think you might have caught me before. I know it's early, but it's early U.S. time. But this is a time that works best for me over here. When the host is at away, then I play. I say away, but he's working in the other room. So maybe my next job will be remote, capable, or semi-remote. We'll see. Who knows? How are you? Anyway, regardless of all of my ramblings. Oh no, do not delete the note. I am still using it. It's 3 a.m. Oh my gosh. Have you considered more sleep? Because I know I would. What's interesting What's interesting is that it feels like there's a constellation being made, and here, like a gladius, a sword, like here's the point, and it goes back. Do you see the lines drawn between those stars? This Five of Wands energy is creating a constellation. And so that pulls in your conviction, it pulls in more of the traditional reading or meaning of the Three of Pentacles, which is one of collaboration towards a shared or common goal. It feels like there's a lot of stars being flung in the sky, like splashes of paint sent hurling towards a canvas. And it's a collective effort. At some point, it's like the dots will connect, the stars will align, and it'll make sense. I wouldn't be surprised if you're also a visionary. You would have to be, not have to be. But again, that plays into this energy of like these pinnacles that you're creating, you know exactly where they're going to go. It blows my mind, like artists who can have a vision of something and then create it. However, oh, I'm glad to see you too. Um, however, successfully it's rendered into the world. It is that energy of like having a vision and knowing what to do to make that vision come to life. But it's a pentacle energy. I mean, the Five of Wands is there, but it's like it feels like it's like you are your masterpiece or your light, your life is your masterpiece. It's like you're creating things that curate your experience how you want it, but the way that you curate your experience isn't completely self-absorbed or self-focused. Because your conviction is the Three of Pentacles again. It's collaboration. I think that's probably another thing that will help you. In the first one, the Nine of Pentacles was like this as well. This is literally the point of the I Ching. Your conviction will guide you through it. But if your conviction is to be collaborative, if your conviction is to see the diamond anywhere you go or the prize to be had anywhere, you're going to be able to successfully navigate a little bit of contrasting beliefs or opinions. You know what I mean? If you hold on to this stronger, you can make it through any of this energy. That's why it forms these constellations in the sky. And it's like if you move forward, then you'll just learn something there, you'll collaborate there, you'll impart, instill something, you'll make an impact. Either way you go. There is also this yin yang that I noticed down here in between Leo and Taurus. The signs in between Leo and Taurus are Gemini and Cancer. Gemini feeling like it's relating to the mind, Cancer relating to the heart. So there's a mind heart connection, there's a mind heart balance here. I guess I also wouldn't be surprised if you express yourself through your body in some way. So that was you, conviction number 2, the Three of Pentacles. I love how, again, like all of these feel like the convictions are so Like the I Ching said, whether you proceed or retreat, either will bode well. There's no there's no Wong way to life. I remember Wong Wei, Ace of Cups, coming out of the. This is what came out the last time I read that I Ching, because I accidentally read like "Do not go back," and it's because the Ace of Cups came out of the lotus that came out of the mud. So don't go back into the mud type of energy. I'm not going to say that here. It feels like it's not applicable here because of that Three of Pentacles conviction. If you go back into the mud, you're going to find another pentacle. If you stay on the path you're on, you're going to find a pentacle. If you climb a ladder and reach up the tree, you're going to find another pinnacle. You're going to find a pinnacle regardless of where you go, which is gorgeous. Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck with the honeybee again on the pentacle. Interessante. So, if you chose the Two of Swords as your conviction, then your timestamp is 121:10. 121:10. 121:10. 12110. 011. Well, it almost Fibonacci's backwards, but not necessarily. Excuse me. I need to remember to cover my mouth when I yawn. There's so much of like, I don't do these videos for me, but it's just like, there's just so many things I don't necessarily care about or consider. I'm just like, oh gosh, this card again. Not that it's bad. So if you've watched this far, even if you like watched it, you could probably assume with not too much difficulty which underlying theme or whatever I saw. It was the one for the Two of Swords, and it's the Hierophant. Speaking of North Node Taurus, it's literally Taurian energy, supposedly. That's what people say, so we're gonna go with it. Even though honestly, I personally could see Sagittarius fitting the Hierophant a lot more because of ninth house energy, and also because of like the Hierophant to me says Jupiter more so than it does like Venus. You know what I mean? It's just that like higher knowing, higher level thinking, and then the adherence to that can be a little in its shadow, you know. Anyway, it's the Hierophant. This is your card. But as I'm looking at the Hierophant, for some reason it feels like he's handing over the keys. Like the Hierophant is giving you the keys. I don't know if old Hierophant is retiring and you're taking on the mantle. I don't know if whatever that means. Maybe you're going to be coming into a time of your life where you speak more, you teach more. Your conviction is the Two of Swords. And it almost feels like your conviction isn't anything that can be understood with an earthly mortal mind. Your conviction, it's almost like your conviction is the strength and the power of your faith. That you know above anything else, the divine God spirit, it has your back. And that there isn't anything that you can go through that's more than you can bear, that there isn't anything. It's almost like your God is not one of like wastefulness. Almost, not necessarily, maybe for some of you, but in that it's just that like, again, it's like there's nothing that you go through, there's nothing that happens, there's nothing that you experience that is not without reason or that is not without cause. It's like there's this knowing that there's a greater, grander sort of scheme or a greater, grander working to all of it. And it's literally beneath the surface is you inheriting the keys to the kingdom. To advance is the Page of Wands. This is a card that I also see all the time. And it just, not necessarily nosy, but it looks very interested, very curious, also very perplexed and almost confused. To retreat for you is the Five of Pentacles. Again, like if your options are the Page of Wands and the Five of Pentacles, it might be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna Page of Wands. That's a no-brainer. What's also interesting, this is a very interesting few cards. More so these two. This is the home of the Hierophant, typically in the Five of Pentacles. The Hierophant is the one who leads the church. These are the people outside the church who are in need of the assistance of the church. This would then be in this certain situation in this situation in set of circumstances. It would be you working through, battling through whatever you need to in order to accept help from a resource or in order to ask. But again, it's like not only is the door open in this Five of Pentacles, the Hierophant is giving you the key. The Hierophant might be telling you that you've had the key this whole time. And if there's or if there's a certain area or aspect of your life where you feel left out or othered, it might be because you've done it to yourself, or you're doing it to yourself, or because of something that happened and transpired in the past that is gone and over with. You're holding on to, or that thing from the past continues to bar you from these areas now, but you have the keys. So in that way, outside of the conviction, the Two of Swords can be like a choice to be willingly, knowingly, willfully blind in a certain situation with different levels of conscious knowing, right? Sometimes we can make subconscious choices and decisions based off of the things in our past while not fully recognizing that that's what we're doing, even though that is what we're doing. You know what I mean? That makes sense. And it's the Page of Wands moving forward. And it's almost interesting because this almost reads like it's actually the Hierophant that's presenting you with a choice. Either you can take the keys to the building in which the Hierophant lives, or you can take the staff through which he does whatever he does with that staff. I don't want to say rules, but the Hierophant does rule people in a lot of ways. Hierophantic energy has been ruling a lot of people for quite some time, and it's not always the healthiest. It's not always done with the best of intentions. I mean, regardless of field or industry or arena, not every leader is necessarily a good person. I think we sometimes forget that whenever we put certain. One second. What are you doing? Yes. That's the host. I think it's almost lunchtime. It's almost lunchtime, and he'll get hungry. He'll get cranky and hungry, so I need to wrap this up. I did tell him an hour, and it's been an hour and a half. Anyway. Oh, I just heard the thing slapping against the. Yep, he warming up the food. All right. I think that sometimes we forget like celebrities, influencers, teachers, any kind of leader, any kind of person in a position, like there aren't many positions. I would almost argue that there aren't any positions anywhere in life that require you to be a good person, truly and honestly, to have that role. Even if you do all the screening and checks and everything else you want, there's no way to screen for a person's character or for their heart or for their soul or for their mind or for what they're going to do or who they're going to be in a certain situation. When the wheel of life continues to turn and move, we all have priorities, we all have goals, we all have ambitions, you know? And it's like, you know, how somebody can be great, but it's like if they're under a state of duress, then they might be different. Or if one of their loved ones is in need of something and it might harm someone else, they might do it. They're human. You know what I mean? It's just this that, like, not everybody in a position to influence others, or not everyone with a position of some kind of power. Like, they're not inherently good just because they're in that position. They're not inherently any better than the average person, I guess I should say. They are subjected to the same flaws and weaknesses and shortcomings that we all have, just as they're subjected to the same strengths of character and skill and wit and everything else that we all are. We would hope that in a certain position they'd be more qualified to not take advantage of that position or to use that position to put others at a space of disadvantage. But again, we're all human, you know? Maybe that too plays a factor in why you're being given these keys. Maybe you're the type of person that would do that position justice. Like if the position is one of a caretaker, then you would be the person that actually cares about people, or you actually care about those that are under your charge. Let's say that your position is one of an accountant, then you're one that's actually good with money, or you're one that somebody can trust to not skim off the books or skim off the top or cook the books or do whatever. You know what I mean? So that under your rule or under your tutelage, there wouldn't be anyone outside of your house coming to you in a space of need that you would reject for whatever reason. That's what the Hierophant is there for. That's what the church is there for. That's why people go there. But to go to the church and to not find welcome, it's almost like it defeats the purpose in a way. To each their own. I'm not coming for anyone's faith or whatever. If it don't take it, if it ain't your life, if it don't resonate, don't take it. But this is definitely some like higher calling on your life type of energy. Definitely some inheriting the keys to the kingdom type of energy. And I think sometimes it can be helpful to have a not great experience, just to be mindful of certain things that others may not necessarily be aware of. You know what I mean? It's almost like if you've never experienced challenge in your life and you're placed in a position to help people who go through challenge, it's like you don't want to necessarily be the person that's like, oh, like you can get through this no problem. Like there isn't anything that you can't overcome in life. Like you shouldn't be looking for this. You shouldn't be looking for that. All of these things that people shouldn't be looking for, but literally, like you choose a role where people go to you looking for those things. So then it's almost like, well, is your point there just to continue to refuse access to certain things? Is your purpose just to continue to maintain the status quo? If you don't use your position to be able to affect change, to actually affect change, it's just like you're a seed filler so that things don't actually change and grow. Not you specifically. Because again, it's almost like maybe there are all of these human things. There are all of these human reasons as to why certain people are in whatever position that they're in, but you're blind to all of that. Your conviction is that greater love, is that greater unifying peace, is that greater tranquility, is that we're all worthy and deserving of love. And yours is a love that maybe it can be a little bit more or a lot more unconditional. Your heart can be a little bit more or a lot more open. Your mind a little bit more or a lot more willing to expand its understanding. So that's what I got for all of yous. Thank you, Holly and Gertrude, for being here. I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. It sounds like lunch is ready, and I do not want an angry friend because it's one of those almost, it's not even necessarily a cultural difference. It's one of those experiential differences now where, like, when I was younger, I feel like there were a lot of meals that we used to eat together, but now everybody gets their plate. We go to our own room. We keep doing what we're doing. And so, like, he's very, like, we're supposed to eat together and it's supposed to be this. And I'm like, okay, I just gotta, we learn, we grow. So I don't want to be disrespectful. So, all right, last card, real quick. This one right here, the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles has shown himself rather than being this energy that hides behind other knights. I feel like this Knight of Pentacles is just that, like, things have the capability and the capacity all over to become so much better, to be what we truly desire for them to be what we wish for them to be. But sometimes we have to be the ones that take that dedicated effort to make them so. And sometimes making that dedicated effort is to allow the world to be more than it's ever been, to allow each other to be more than we have been. If appropriate and when appropriate, follow your own intuition, guidance, discernment, wisdom. Again, that's the Knight of Pentacles. With an appreciation for the natural world, with an appreciation for nature. This isn't something to be ruled over, the experience, because we all share it. Unless you are the only person in your experience, I guess, then by all means, go wild. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Wands. Many hands make light work. When we all come together, we get there quicker. And when we are of a like mind, and when that mind is one of acceptance and one of a willingness to broaden and expand, then we get there even faster. So I hope you'll have a great whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And until next time, I hope that you are following what is for you to follow, finding what is for you to find, and hearing what it is for you to hear in the way that it's meant for you to hear it. Right? And the way that you're meant to hear it isn't necessarily the way that somebody else is going to hear it. So I wish you discernment to know that. And there is wisdom that we can give each other. There is knowledge that we can share with one another. But again, at the end of the day, something might hit for you or resonate for you or mean something to you in a way that it means it to you that it might not with someone else. And it's not necessarily for you to convince them that it is. And it's not necessarily for you to be convinced that it isn't. Bye.